bail these banks out, obviously, how can we provide some extra revenue? How about charging people for their most basic rights like water? Oh, haven't they already paid for that? Oh yeah, they've already paid for it. What, we're going to make them pay again? Yes.
Water was paid for from general taxes before, but the plan to charge homes individually has brought protest.
From the river to the sea,
Irish water will be free.
Because the Irish people have been used to having a kick-off against Britain for years, when there's a protest required, they can organise it well. Proper songs, from the water to the sea, Irish water will be free. So it's quite good, this water crisis, isn't it? It's got a really good atmosphere. So one of the obvious observations that can be made is how come that Ireland is continuing to provide massive tax breaks to huge companies when there's an infrastructure crisis in their nation. Ireland offers international corporations such as Apple, Facebook, Amazon and Google a loophole, I think it's called the Double Irish, that helps multinational corporations legally dodge billions of dollars of taxes in their homelands. Remember, $2 billion would solve this water crisis.
Bills will range from over $200 a year for a single person to more than $600 for a family of 4 adults.
All these different currencies that are going on, euros, dollars, pounds, and it'll be 544 shamrockaroos.
The latest austerity charges are proving hard for some to swallow.
Irish water will be free.
Obviously what people say is the tax breaks that are offered to big companies, it's not an option to change that because that's what makes the Irish economy so stable. But the Irish economy isn't stable. Look, 1 in 4 Irish people endure social deprivation according to the state's own Central Statistic Office. Obviously there's this massive infrastructural crisis, and across the whole EU, €1 trillion is lost to tax dodging. So just from tax dodging and tax avoidance schemes, $1 trillion could be put back into state infrastructure. Doesn't that seem like a solution to you, rather than going back to the public? People the worst hit by the economic crisis continue to pay the biggest price.
At the moment, there's so many people in Ireland that can't even pay their mortgage. How are they going to pay for water?
I don't think the government realise.
They do realise, they just don't care.
How much of a burden it would be to the people around this area who are already stretched financially, or paying tax after tax after tax.
Jerry Adams, the leader of Sinn Féin, pointed out that MPs get a break on paying for water. Any government minister that lives outside Dublin and has a second home in the capital gets reduced water charges under a 1997 Tax Consolidation Act. So people like in government are getting a break where the ordinary Irish folk there who are out in the streets protesting can't get any breaks.
Around half the country's water currently disappears through leaks in old pipes.
Oh, that's good. And half the tax, that disappears through tax leaks. In a way, this is a really good metaphor what's happening all over the world. There are enough resources. There is enough money. That's the biggest lie of all. Austerity. It means austerity for the weakest, most vulnerable people because they don't have any leverage with governments. Amazon, Facebook, growing international corporations, which we all use. It's not like I'm saying they're inherently evil. I'm saying they should contribute so that ordinary people aren't continually persecuted, prosecuted, condemned and damned. Park life. Because it's clear that there are enough resources for people, the same way there's enough water. Get those bloody companies to register, get their taxes, repair the water system, stop ripping off the ordinary people who are buying stuff from Amazon, who are using Facebook, who are paying taxes already to pay for the water. Stop making them pay for everything again and again and again.
We have a big problem in terms of our infrastructure. It's not in a state that is fit to meet the needs of a modern economy.
What are the solutions to this Irish water problem where people are being charged for water they've already paid for because of poverty induced, because of irresponsible government policies? What solutions are there? Well, the answer seems to be transparency, a quality that water should have in essence. We could do puns here as well. The solution would be to ensure that all member states of Europe have publicly accessible register of the real owners of companies and trusts, because they don't have to register who they are. Doesn't that seem a bit weird to you? Like, you don't know that it's Facebook or Amazon or Google. That shouldn't be allowed, should it? That's double sly. Developing countries with newer economies, check this out, this will blow your mind. They would benefit from a move to public registers. Transparency. If you're not doing anything wrong at Google or Facebook or wherever, have a public register. Developing countries each year lose more money to tax dodging than they receive in development aid. For example, Africa, in reality, is a net creditor to the rest of the world as more funds flow out of the continent than in it. So even a country like Africa, where Oxfam and Red Cross and all of these bloody telethons we're doing, they should simply get the people that are exploiting their mineral resources to pay the countries. So like, we're having to generate charities, have protests, not get clean water, starve in Africa, also already rich organisations can continue to make profit. Yeah, but the profit will trickle down. It hasn't trickled down. It's not trickling.
We need to change the way we fund water services, and that means introducing domestic water charges, where people will pay directly for the amount of water that they use, so we can fix the leaks, increase the amount of capacity we have in the system, and ensure that our wastewater treatment plants are all environmentally compliant.
Well, that was a pretty good speech. I mean, you kind of come up with that off the top of your head. How did you come up with such a good speech? It was revealed that 86 million euros is spent on consultants to set up a new state-sponsored company in charge of water services, Irish Water. 86 million for consultants. Can you help us with setting up new water? Can I? Yes. That'll be 86 million euros. That's such a lot, isn't it, just to be consulted? That isn't to do any of the stuff. It's going to cost an additional 2 billion to do the actual stuff. Look, that woman actually goes on the TV set and tells you that it's all right. Yeah, you can make it make sense with words, but you've got to present different stories. You've set up an infrastructural situation where the companies and institutions that have the most money and the most wealth are continuing to be able to suck wealth out of the country, and the poorest people are expected to support it. That's not democracy.
The road to economic recovery has been a long one for Ireland.
This is too much puns, isn't it? The road to economic recovery has been a long one.
But while recent economic data shows signs of hope, the waves of austerity, such as the new water charge, continue to be felt.
Stop the waves of austerity and the little tiny crabs and tadpoles of inconvenience. So don't have to have the whole news made out of puns. Just tell us what the fucking hell's going on and then clear up. Hello, welcome to the news. I'm skipping through a merry little poem of metaphor and pun.
Dermot Fleming, BBC News, Dublin.
Okay, so what's quite clear there is there are enough resources, there is enough money, but the infrastructure of Ireland has been set up to persecute the most poor people and benefit the richest institutions. This is relevant because obviously it's happening in Ireland, but also it's happening all over the world. The difference is in Ireland, people are protesting, so we should support the people that are protesting in Ireland for the most basic of rights. Water to Ireland! True news! Subscribe here, subscribe here, subscribe here. You have to drink after toast.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Truths is like the nose. If the nose was true, I want some truths. Let's have some truths.
Alright, so obviously we went off on a Russell Brand jag. There's just a lot of interesting stories and videos and stuff that I came across there earlier when I was checking out my Russell Brand stuff, so I just wanted to go ahead and share that stuff with you guys. And then while I was doing that, I came across an interesting article once again on Drudge Report, and of course once again via New York Post. And the headline for this story is Federal Drug Agents Launch Surprise Inspections of NFL Teams Following Games. Federal Drug Agents launch surprise inspections of NFL teams following games. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I'm not really a huge sports fan per se, but the headline kind of grabbed my eyes, and I figured it would probably be interesting. It seems like it's a breaking story, so I figured you guys would probably be interested. Federal drug agents conducted surprise inspections of National Football League team medical staffs on Sunday as part of an ongoing investigation into prescription drug abuse in the league. The inspections, which entailed bag searches and questioning of teen doctors by Drug Enforcement Administration agents in cooperation with the Transportation Security Administration, were based on the suspicion that NFL teams dispense drugs illegally to keep players on the field in violation of the Controlled Substance Act, according to a senior law enforcement official with knowledge of the investigation. The medical staffs were part of travel parties whose teams were playing at stadiums across the country. They included the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who played the Washington Redskins at FedEx Field, and the San Francisco 49ers, who played the New York Giants in New Jersey. DEA officials were expected to inspect 6 teams in all on Sunday. The DEA had reason to look at those teams in particular, but the investigation is not restricted to them, according to the law enforcement official, who spoke on condition of anonymity because the probe is ongoing. The official said the investigation focuses on practices across the 32-team league, including possible distribution of drugs without prescriptions or labels, and the dispensing of drugs by trainers rather than physicians. A 49ers team official confirmed the DEA inspection following the team's game against the Giants, but did not provide any details. The San Francisco 49ers organization was asked to participate in a random inspection with representatives from the DEA Sunday night at MetLife Stadium. Team spokesman Bob Lang said in an emailed statement, the 49ers medical staff complied and the team departed the stadium as scheduled. So yeah, pretty interesting story there, and it continues. So if you want to read more about that, visit drudgereport.com, and it's a Washington Post article, headline: Federal Drug Agents Launch Surprise Inspections of NFL Teams Following Games. So yeah, some pretty interesting stuff there. Really quick, I just wanted to also thank our new foreign listeners. It appears that we're kind of starting to become worldwide. As we're broadcasting some shows overseas apparently. So I'd like to welcome our Canadian friends as well as our friends in New Zealand and Switzerland, also Brazil, Argentina, Mexico. The list goes on and on. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. And I hope you enjoy the show. And a really big shout out to my fellow Floridians. I see that we've picked up a lot of listeners in the Miami area, which is actually where I was born and where I'm from. So shout outs to the 305, and also to all of our Broward County friends. From Pompano Beach, Florida, to Fort Lauderdale, to Margate, and so on. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Now, lately I've been questioned why in regards to my support for a possible 2016 presidential candidate, Dr. Ben Carson. I don't know how familiar any of my listeners are with Dr. Carson. I imagine at least half of you are already familiar, so this part isn't really for you, but for all the new listeners and people who just aren't in the know in that regard, to all of the potential 2016 presidential candidates, one of them being Dr. Carson, an African-American retired neurosurgeon who actually retired here in Florida. So I thought that was pretty cool. But if you haven't had a chance to look into this guy, I definitely recommend that you do. You can Google him, Dr. Ben Carson. I think he's going to be a strong contender. There's a lot of things about him that I like, even though I'm not a Republican by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, I don't fall or believe in the left-right paradigm. But if I were to vote for a conservative Republican, he would be the only guy that I would. And the only thing that's keeping me from voting for him, even though I'm a libertarian, is the fact that first and foremost, that he's never mentioned once about abolishing the Federal Reserve, or at least auditing them. So that alone is enough for me to not really semi-vote that way. And I kind of made the commitment a long time ago that I'm not going to vote for anyone who doesn't, campaign at least partially on auditing and or abolishing the Federal Reserve and the federal income tax and so on. I'm sure a lot of you can agree. So that's one thing that would keep him, one of the few things I'd have to say, to be honest, that would keep me from voting for him, even though he would be running on the Republican ticket as a conservative Republican. That would be